The ultimate Wolverine is finally here. Welcome to the Comicstorian Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read them dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. If you enjoy these stories, be sure to support the industry and go check them out at your local comic shop. The Maker used time travel to create his perfect Earth and put in place the Maker's Council to control the world. The Eurasian Republic, led by the mutant triad of Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red, has become one of two places in the world for all known mutant activity. And now they are sending their new ultimate weapon in to clean up the opposition. This is Ultimate Wolverine 1 by Chris Condon. I hope you enjoy. The plane banks slightly through the air, the hum of its engines filling the main cargo hold. Two soldiers stare at the living weapon sitting across from them. "You think he can hear us?" one asks quietly, leaning close to the other. "Why don't you ask?" the other jokes with a nudge. The soldiers shake their heads as they regard the weapon, a man who hasn't moved since they took off, who has offered no indication that he is even aware of their conversation. "I heard he was a part of an experiment gone wrong in the North American Union. Gurakovsky said he's not a man at all. He says he's pieced together from corpses of soldiers who died in combat. They say he can't die, that he always comes back, same as before," the soldier whispers. Suddenly, the weapon stands. Both soldiers freeze, fear holding their bodies in place as the man stands before them. Still silent, one holds up his hands, stammering as his body begins to shake. We didn't," he gasps, but the weapon turns away and stalks towards the rear of the plane as the ramp lowers, letting the icy wind into the cargo hold. "Wait, he doesn't have a chute!" one of the soldiers shouts as the weapon leaps out into the frigid night air, plummeting towards the earth far below. Sometime in the past, a man crawls away from the scene of a battle, blood trailing behind him, his body mangled and destroyed. "Hey look, a survivor!" one of the soldiers shouts as he stalks forward. The man turns back, his lidless eyes staring, his mouth leaking blood and shattered teeth as he mumbles something, unable to form words. The soldier stares down at him in disgust and pulls his pistol, placing it against the man's head and squeezing the trigger. The present. The weapon aims towards the church, the command center of the opposition. Two guards watch as something falls from the night sky and slams into the courtyard of the church. Smoke billows up from the impact, obscuring their vision. "I can't see a thing!" one shouts as they reach for their weapons. A noise comes from the smoke, and their eyes widen in fear. Schnicked. But it's already too late. The weapon whirls through the smoke, claws slashing and stabbing through the guards before they can shout a warning to the others. The smoke begins to clear, revealing the weapon, blood dripping down his claws. Inside the church, Raven Darkholm raises her weapon as they hear the gunfire erupting outside, shouting for the soldiers that surround her and Kurt Wagner. "Soldiers! Prepare yourselves!" she orders as they take aim at the doors. Suddenly, the wood splinters as metal claws jam through them. The past. The man slams his fist against the glass stasis tube as the leaders of the Eurasian Republic look on. "The specimen has not taken kindly to his cell," Dr. Alonia Prostovich notes dryly, explaining that the man survived an airstrike against an opposition compound and a point-blank bullet to the head from the soldiers sent in for cleanup. "He regenerated his whole body in a record time and had enough strength to kill the soldier who shot him," she points out. Omega Red looks to the berserker trapped in the stasis tube. Impressive. I think I like him," he says with a smile. Dr. Alonia nods and checks her notes. "Subject originates from North American Union, though he hasn't spoken since we brought it to Moscow," she continues. The man slams his fist against the glass again, blood smearing the tube and mixing with the liquid. Pyotr Rasputin nods and continues to watch impassively. So, what can we do about this? He asks, pointing out that the specimen's rage means he will no longer be able to be controlled and thus might be deemed useless. But Dr. Alanya shakes her head. We have attempted skeletal enhancement before with failure, but I don't think we need to worry about that with this specimen. I think that you forget that it is not the only specimen we have here, she points out. Magic steps forward. You mean the telepath? She asks. They watch as the man slides to the floor of his tube, finally relenting in his assault on the glass, leaving a bloody X smeared for them to see. Once we have it under control, I do not think the opposition will be a problem much longer, Dr. Alanya finishes. The present. The doors to the church explode inward, revealing the weapon standing before them, its claws ready. He stares for a moment before cracking his neck. Kurt's eyes widen in fear and understanding. I know that man. Raven. I know. He begins to say, but Darkholm doesn't wait for him to finish. Fire! She shouts to her soldiers, squeezing the trigger on her AK-47. Gunfire and smoke fill the church, but the weapon charges forward into the maelstrom of bullets. Kurt ducks down, covering his head and praying. His words were lost in the cacophony of gunfire. The weapon charges forward, ignoring the rounds as they slam into his body. The first soldier falls as claws pierce through his skull. The weapon whirls, slashing through another as he stabs a third in the chest. He spins, tossing the corpse at another soldier before stabbing through him. Raven turns and flees, trying to lead the berserker away from their leader. The weapon follows her, sliding around the corner to see Pyotr Rasputin waiting for him, armed with a minigun. Opposition rats are swarming this place, the ruler states. But the weapon merely stares at him, cocking his head to the side like a dog as he sniffs at the air. Oh, Pyotr whispers as he realizes his mistake. Pyotr raises the minigun and fires, the rounds chewed through the weapon's skin. But the man leaps and kicks off the wall, flipping through the air and slashing Pyotr through the throat. Blood begins to flow from the wound as Raven morphs back to her regular form. She falls to her knees, hands trying to stop the wellspring of blood that flows from her throat. But it doesn't matter. She is already dead and doesn't realize it. The church is silent. The battle is over. The weapon stalks back into the main chamber, drawn by the scent of its final prey. Kurt lifts his head from his hiding place. Mein Gott, the priest whispers as he looks at the carnage. The past. Dr. Alanya's team has begun their work. The specimen's mind has already been wiped. It is empty, ours for the molding, she explains to the rulers. They watch as the medical team begin the task of grafting adamantium to the specimen's bones. But that survival instinct will remain. You'll not find another like it. This specimen is truly unique. Its past self, Logan, it was once called, is dead. We have taken to calling it a nickname. Lived, died, and born again as we choose. It will be cold-blooded, relentless, merciless. We call it our Winter Soldier, she tells them. The present. Kurt holds up his hands as the Winter Soldier approaches. If you are who I think you are, no, I know it's you, he whispers. But the Winter Soldier shows no recognition, drawing ever closer. I don't know what they've done to you, but this isn't you, Kurt continues, begging his friend to stop. But the Winter Soldier continues, raising his claws to strike. Kurt nods as a tear falls down his cheek. I am sorry, he whispers. The Winter Soldier leaps forward, but Kurt suddenly bamfs away, leaving nothing for Logan to strike but purple smoke. Kurt reappears and kicks him hard, sending him through the wall. The mutant priest sighs and reaches for a fallen soldier's rifle. He looks up to the heavens and crosses himself. Forgive me, but I do what I must, he prays. The Winter Soldier growls as he gets to his feet, Suddenly, the church is filled with smoke as Kurt bamfs again and again, leaping and appearing throughout the chamber, firing the weapon. The rounds ripping into the soldier's flesh. Blood has begun to pool on the ground around him, but Logan is ready. He suddenly whirls, his claws stabbing where the smell of the blue elf is about to appear, and rips through his chest. Leaning in close, the Winter Soldier lets out a final growl, and Kurt stares at the man he knew to be his friend. God's blessing, Logan. The priest whispers as life bleeds out of him. He staggers back and leans against the wall, sliding down to the floor and leaving a trail of blood. If you're in there, my friend, I pray you have the strength. I'm sorry, we weren't quick enough. We came back, he says. His eyes grow heavy and begin to close, his words becoming softer. We came back for you. We would always come back for... He gasps before his head falls to the side. The Winter Soldier stares at him, acting as if he has no understanding of the words the mutant priest said. He walks back out into the cold, stepping past the corpses he left behind. The past. Winter Soldier's eyes are held open as he stares at the TV screens. Images of Kurt Wagner and Raven Darkholm flashing across them as a nearby general informs him that they are his enemy. The present. Back on the plane. The Winter Soldier pulls off his mask. He stares at the blood that has soaked into it. The blood of the priest that still stains his hands. Gently, he holds his hand up and sniffs. Does it recognize the scent? Does he feel a spark of remorse? The Winter Soldier closes his eyes. There is no way to tell. And there you have it. The Ultimate Wolverine and the Ultimate Winter Soldier are one in the same, and honestly, is one of the coolest suits in the entire Ultimate Universe. But what do you guys think of the Ultimate Wolverine and how they set him up in this universe? Let me know in the comments down below, and like the video if you enjoyed it. I did try out some different accents, and I apologize if they offended anyone. And as always, subscribe if you want more videos like this. I'm Dan with Comicstorian, and we will see you next time. Rest in peace, Benny.